minutes.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Katrina Garcia Mendoza. I'm Gabriel Mendoza's mom.
A moving scene tonight in a West Side's neighborhood park in St. Paul. Loved ones gathering to remember Gabriel Mendoza Cordova. The 23-year-old passionate about his work, well, he was killed over the weekend, providing security at an uptown bar. He was shot in the neck. His family is demanding to know what happened, with no arrests in this case.
And they're also turning their grief into action, trying to ignite a movement to end the deadly gun violence ripping apart families. Paul Bloom has the story.
He's always just kind of been a protector, and that's just kind of who he was.
Given the circumstances surrounding her brother's slang, Gabe Mendoza Cordova's sister.
What is your fondest memory of your son?
My fondest memory of my son is him being a protector, and that just shows up in his whole life since he was young, 4 or 5 years old, all the way through. Gabriel would protect his little sister, and if she was being bullied, it was his twin sister, he would protect her. That's a fond memory. He would always root for the underdog. So he would bring people, all kinds of different people together, even as a young kid, as a teenager, and make sure that there was space for them to be seen and heard, and for them to actually, what we would say these days, have not just a seat at the table, but a microphone too. And he made sure that was who he was.
What happened the night your son was murdered?
On the night Gabriel was murdered, he was actually, again, doing this protection. And he and his friend launched their own security business. And he had done a lot of different types of security, personal security, private security for musicians, private security for politicians like Maria Isa and Keith Ellison, for events. We had a West Side cultural market that he did protection for weeks before he was murdered. And on Sunday, 8 weeks ago today, he was working 30 days in a row, and he was looking for somebody to cover the shift, and nobody could. And so he was planning to go on tour with one of his favorite musicians, and that was going to start November 5th. And so he told me he needed to go to work because he needed to make sure that all his boys ate. He said, all my family, all my guys need to eat, Mom. Even though I'm going on tour, I want to make sure they're going to be okay. So all I need to do is go here tonight and get this contract signed so they're set, and then I can go and I can rest, and then I'll go on tour. So that night, he was outside Firehouse in the back. I believe there were 2 bouncers in the front, but not security like Gabriel. He took his job very seriously. And so he was in back, and he was walking 2 women to their car. A shooting happened in the front of the building, maybe to the side, maybe directly in front. I don't know. Nobody said anything. And then he was struck in his neck, and he was still in his dying moments protecting people because he was pushing people inside the building away from the danger as he was taking his last breaths.
What would you say to the police officers who investigated his murder?
You did a shitty job. Gabriel was number 71, and seemingly you are okay with him just being number 71. It is 8 weeks later, and there is even reporters from Channel 5, Channel 4, who were there and showed that there's hundreds of videos everywhere. And I just keep being told that there's no good footage, that there's hours and hours of surveillance, but there's no good footage. There was over 100 people in that building. Those people had their phones. You could see it on Snapchat, on Instagram, how thick it was inside the club that night. I believe that, to the officers specifically, that you are being lax. You're letting it go. I don't know if this is a message to us in the community that if we want to hold you accountable to do your job, that then you're going to push back and not do that. I feel that everything is not being done to find who did this for my son. I don't think the staff at the firehouse was investigated thoroughly. I don't think people at the firehouse who were there were investigated. I never heard any of our family or friends getting a call to ask us if we knew anything. And so these are the things that make me say it's a bang-up job.
Last question. Talking to everybody out here, IGST family. What would you tell his murderer or murderess if you were talking to them right now? They might be looking at you right now. What would you say to them?
To the people who killed Gabe, or the person who killed Gabe, I just want you to know that you took a light. You took a game-changing person, somebody who poured into people, who loved on people, who was setting out to use every moment of his waking days to change the world for Black and brown people, for refugees and immigrants, for everybody. And it's not to take away from other people whose lives have been taken, but this one was and is a profound light that was put out that day. I also moved from rage, as you can imagine, my only son, my baby, at 23, to be taken by an action by a person. I would tell you that I would love to be able to sit down and talk to you and find out what happened in your life. Where did people fail you that this was something that you thought was okay? To take somebody's life for what? If you were kicked out of the establishment, is that a reason to take a life? If you were fighting with somebody, and even if Gabe was an accident, was that other person's life worth taking? I want to talk about what happened to you. Why did you do this? You have the answers on how we are not serving our people and coming together as a community to raise strong men, women, and somewhere we're failing. You have the answers. I want to know what happened. Why did you do this? Where were you failed? What has to change so that other people don't keep coming up, killing people, not seeing humanness, not realizing what you're taking, not having accountability? I would want to know why it continues to happen to elders, to babies on trampolines, babies in cars. Why is this happening, and why did you do that? For what? Is your life better now because of it? Are you hiding? Do you care? Are you fearless? Is it just one more person? One of many? I don't know. But that's what I would say to the person who killed Gabe, or people.
Could you show us his picture?
I would love to show you his picture. This is my baby, Gabriel, on Easter. This is my son, Gabriel, at high school graduation. This is a picture his oldest sister took of him, one of our favorites. Right before he went off to play college ball.
2, 3. We love you, Dino!
The touching tribute brought together family and friends of Gabriel Mendoza.
His faces are proof of who he was, who he is, and who he will always be.
Amen.
He is loved.
Very shortly.
I got something to say.
All right, welcome back. This is IGSTS. I'm SF Mo, your prison lawyer, and I have a special, very special guest here with me, Katrina, Mrs. Mendoza. And I was happy when I met her because I met a kindred spirit, someone who had the same revolutionary vibe, understanding. And I just felt really close to her when I first met her, but we came together under circumstances that I prefer we didn't. Welcome back. We just heard her story about what happened to her son, and we're definitely looking to solve this murder, whether the police wants to get involved. We know that someone knows, and we're reaching out to those individuals. Somebody's watching. But this morning I was laying in my bed and I was thinking about interviewing you and talking to you. There's a lot of things going through my head, but one thing really struck me is if this case was a case involving a white police officer killing a black gentleman, opposed to it being an urban crime, I personally thought that the coverage should be totally different. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. I feel like the rooms would be packed. People would be outraged. And I believe we should be outraged even still.
Right.
The year's not even over yet. Gabe was number 71 in Hennepin County, Minneapolis, and they're at 75. And the year's not even up yet. I don't know what it's going to take. We know it's people out here terrorizing communities, and why isn't that an outrage?
Definitely. I don't understand with it. And when you told me the story, it struck me as odd, being in my position with the police, and understanding that it's always been a pushback since defund police became a chant, and they felt as though if they can't police the way they want to police in our communities, then they don't want to police in our communities. And here's the end result of it, right? And when we want to take control, like you want to take control of the investigation, you're just being met with walls.
That's right.
So you mentioned before that he was going to help join a campaign, join a camp with security on this this tour. Have you reached out to that individual? Have they reached out to you about your son in order to help at least find the person who did it? Or have you any communications with them?
I'm glad you're asking me that, because I was thinking about that today too. On the way over here to talk to you, I was thinking about this cat called T. Grizzly. He's the musician that Gabriel loved and was did security for. They vibed real well, and then Gabriel was hired to go on tour starting in November. And we haven't heard anything from this person. And I know Gabriel has what we call our first circle of folks who have reached out to him. And we haven't heard anything. So I'm not sure why. I can't speak on that, but I would think that as community, as somebody who saw Gabe and saw value in him and so much, thought, you trusted him enough with your life.
Right.
And so wouldn't you use your platform as a way to say, this ain't right, let's stop this killing ourselves, we're killing each other, and they're just kind of watching us and letting us do it. And so I would think that this person would use their platform as a way to step into their power and help other people. I just think that we all have a responsibility to one another to use whatever. I have a bunch of folks in community who maybe don't have that kind of platform, but are showing up to put up flyers or hang up ribbons or whatever it is, share it with their networks or email blast our elected officials or whatever it is that you can do to move this. And yet you're somebody who has,
Platform.
Yeah.
Huge platform. I looked him up. I mean, I listened to a couple of his songs, and I see what type of character he claims he is. And I just thought that due to the circumstances, that he would just least send out his condolences, least say something in regards to this isn't right. But I don't know how much of his character is a character or how much he's trying to live that lifestyle. But here's a good platform for us to actually challenge him and challenge his behavior. Are you an individual who attempting to live out this role, or are you trying to unite your community? And for us to judge his music. I mean, if he is that individual, he should be judged accordingly. But if he isn't, here's his opportunity to step up and actually do something good and let people know who he is as an individual. Hey, I'm not that individual. Here's who I truly am. So you mentioned some things. Have you found out anything new that you could talk about in regards to the murder of your son? Like I know you were doing trying to touch base with the police officers to get as much information as you possibly can. From the time that you found out to right now, has anything changed? Like, do you know if there are any suspects, even potential suspects, anything out there?
Okay, so like I said, it's been 8 weeks today. And the first interaction with the sergeant my daughter had, he said, "We don't have time to be calling you every 5 minutes." I waited until after the funeral so I could muster up the strength. Because here's the thing. You feel like you got to act accordingly or you're not going to get their help. And so I didn't want to show up in some kind of way. I had to edit myself some kind of way.
Let me keep that thought. Did you think that, or did you feel that way based on their interactions, or did you just assume this is the way it should be? Because what gave you that impression that you had to edit your feelings? Because everything I see when it comes to a mother losing her son and being in that space, you have the right to say, to react any way you want to, because no one can control you. But now you're saying, now I'm going to talk to these individuals, and I'm seeing what I see on TV. How they, so again, my question is what made you feel like you had to censor yourself going to talk to these individuals?
Right. So because they reacted that way, I kind of already from jump knew that, I mean, nobody called us and asked us, like, if we had any idea. You know, usually they investigate the family, not investigate, but interview the families.
Yes.
Friends.
Yes.
You know, and so honestly, I feel like I was a mom whose son was took, and I should be able to wild out and act any kind of way I truly, authentically feel. But I needed to take the time after the funeral and then give him a call so that I didn't act too wild or too outrageous, so that they would take me seriously. And now that we're talking about it, I think I did that at the crime scene. I saw the ambulance down there and I was trying to run over there. I got stopped, and then I said, well, let me, he kept calling the person the body. The body hasn't been identified. The body. At this point, I'm in shock. I don't believe that's my son. So I just yelled and said, that's somebody's son. It's not my son, but you're going to stop calling it the body, And so from jump, I think I knew I had to act a certain way or I wouldn't get the answers I needed. You feel like there's other people who might be able to have that expectation, and it's a privilege to be able to know that they're going to do what they need to do to find who did this. But on my end, there's never been a sense of, for sure they're doing their job. They got everybody on the case. Matter of fact, I remember after he said that to my daughter, I got time to call you every 5 minutes. We're doing our job. The next one, I called him and I said, hey, this is my first time calling you. I'm Gabriel's mom and I want an update. And he's like, an update on what? In that tone. And I'm like, on your golf game, what do you think I want an update on? And so after that, we did this huge email blast to electeds and started reaching out to people that we knew who could maybe get him to act right. But so I'm still fighting to get him to do his job, but also see some humanness in me.
Why is that what we have to deal with? Because I tell the story all the time, how policing looks different in our community and looks different in their community. And that's the problem with policing. It's not the fact that if policing was working in our community, we would not want the police. It's the fact that they feel as though they want to come in our community, and it's the same way they do when we get locked up. And I have my history of being incarcerated, justice impacted individual, and dealing with them, and the way they getting pulled over looks different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And in the same way you have to censor yourself. Like, the reason that struck me so vividly is the way you're talking about censoring yourself is the way I have to censor myself when they pull me over for a traffic stop.
Yep.
Watch what I say. Watch where my hands are at.
Don't move too fast.
Don't be overly emotional about a situation I know is BS. Right?
Yeah.
So it's filtered through our community of color that we already have this black code that we have to go by. Right? And everybody acts as though it does not exist. We know it exists. Right. They know it exists. So again, my position on police has not changed. I brought you on this show not to show that, I don't even know, we got a new police chief, we have a new DA, we have all these things going on. Who have you reached out to in office, and who has responded to you?
Yeah, that's the good question. So we did an email blast. We did for a whole weekend. And then the following Monday, I asked folks to call and blow up the phones. And so we reached out to the governor. We reached out to Mayor Fry. We reached out to the councilwoman and a council member for the 5th precinct. She's Asia. She's the youngest council person. She's a woman of color. She's helping me pull together folks to host a listening session with community about what's our responsibility and how can we in our lives pour into our young people so this doesn't continue to happen. So that, but she's the only one who responded. Nobody else did. And that's sad because the governor sent a letter to the vigil. I know I didn't meet you till after the vigil, but he sent a letter. I got it from Maria Isa. She's been amazing too. But so she worked to help get this letter. This letter is signed by Peggy Flanagan and Governor Walz, saying, you know, what a loss we are experiencing by Gabe getting killed. But I really appreciated that in the moment. It was amazing to have this acknowledgement from elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
This is a letter, though. Like, I need some action.
Yeah.
If I got to pick prioritizing my son's case, don't let it fall through the cracks, like let's make sure everybody's on it, or this letter, I would just go with the first one. Let's find who did this, you know? And I just don't want it to be a checkbox, because then it's an insult. If you feel good because you wrote this letter, but then you don't respond when community's knocking on your door, asking you to move into action, well, then I don't know what we can say about that.
Business as usual. Organizations, as any organization, I know when I was at the event that you invited me to, and I want to thank you for that. Jama Place was there, along with Second Chance was there. Yeah. They hosted the event. It was a great event. I networked with a lot of powerful brothers there. Mm-hmm. A lot of people impacted by their son's life. Has there been any other organizations reaching out to you, trying to set up an event or just help you get through this?
Mm-hmm. Jama Place is amazing. Gabriel was a participant, learned a lot there, and then coached and mentored young brothers coming up underneath him. And then Second Chance, for sure. Job Corps helped us make these huge banners, or this beautiful banner that you'll see kind of everywhere in the vigil and stuff. And then I work for an organization called Westside Community Organization. They showed up by gathering all of community and hosting like a food train for like a month. Okay. Somebody else was bringing food and stuff, and privileged enough to have them like let me take 2 months off of work and slowly come back and things like that. El Burrito Mercado and Boca Chica restaurant, the Frias family and the Silva families are West Side big establishments, and family owned but big to us, and they definitely showed up big time when it happened. They're quietly behind the scenes sending food and donating, and now they came together and just asked permission but put it all together for this fundraiser on Tuesday, this one and next, and they made a plate called Gabe's Plate.
Okay, right? Okay.
Oh my God.
He loves it.
What they say? He's so scared of the family. They don't say
28, and I'm going to get her next. Let me just take your order, sir.
Hi.
So, right now we are having a special. We are having a fundraiser for Gabe Mendoza.
Okay.
And it's a taco platter plus a Coke. So what it is 2 tacos. There's various kinds that you can order. They do have to be identical, 2 of them, with rice and beans, and then you get a pop with that.
So I can get that deep fried.
You can get deep fried, soft flour, soft corn, crispy corn. You can get a couple of the traditional tacos type. You can get it with lettuce, cheese, and tomato, depending on what order you get. And you can also get it to go.
All right. I'll take 2 of those.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, no problem.
Plates.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
And 100% of those proceeds come to hire a private investigator,
Right.
because I can't work with the investigator we got. So now instead of raising monies to maybe pour into something Gabe would have, like a legacy for Gabe to, we'd have to use that money now to hire somebody that will work with us, and I can show up authentically like myself and be sad if I want to be sad, or be whatever I need to be. I can show up as who I am because this is a hired investigator who I can trust is going to do the work.
Do you have investigators in mind, or have you done any research into that?
I have just like a list. I've narrowed it down to 3. It's really hard to find investigators. First of all, they're all like retired cops.
Yeah.
And then you take it from there, and then it's like they're investigating like cheating spouses or insurance fraud. I need it to be this. Yeah.
Are you just trying to stay within the state, or have you gone out of state? Is that an option, or you just want to stay within the state, feeling that they're familiar with the territory? I mean, what are you thinking when you're looking at an investigator?
I haven't put any real filters on it in terms of location. It does feel like it might be a good move to think about somebody outside of Minnesota to be able to help us. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Really, I'm just navigating this kind of bumpy road and hiccups all over the place and just learning as I go.
My father just recently passed in April, and it was the first death we had in the family, in my core family. And I felt the same way. It was almost like I'm walking like a zombie, but I have to figure this. I got to get out of this maze. And, all I'm hearing is they want their money, and this needs to happen this so many times, and we need to organize all this. But it's just like, it's so, and you went through all of it. I mean, you went through, my only son having to plan a funeral, having to do this investigation. It's just like, I can see it's just the ongoing, I know many a days you probably just wanted to lay in bed, not even get out. I just want to stay in bed. And just to go back, I just brought it up because I felt so out of the norm, under my own understanding. Like, I wish there was a handbook or something a checklist, or I didn't know what to feel or how to feel it or what was going on. And it was just wild because I know even dealing with funeral arrangements in our community, it's just something that we don't even talk about, or we don't pre-plan. And it's not to say that, it's just like, it's just so much going on and so much grief and so much, just trying to figure things out. And I just know that yours has got to be 100 times, that's when you said it, it's made me think about that whole scenario and just how that was for me, and it's got to be even worse for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the loss of your dad, though. It's still, no matter how they go, right? Like older, younger.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard, but it is a wild thing to navigate because, I've experienced loss before, my mom, but she was, she died of cancer. She was older. She died of cancer. She was older. And you process that different. She already told us what she wanted. My baby was 23.
Right.
So you got that trauma. Then you don't know who did this. Are my other kids safe?
Right. Right. Grandchildren. Come on.
Not wanting to put signs or, pictures up. And then I bought these lawn signs for solidarity. And I'm like, or are these markers? Are these killers coming for us? Is this like, hey, you want to know who loved Gabe? Here's a sign everywhere, little map markers. But also, I want to tell you that I went to go do that press conference 2 days after my son was murdered at the firehouse. I didn't know what I was going to say. But I wanted to see where Gabe was killed. I wanted to see where he took his last breath. I needed to be in there. So I took it as an open door for me to come in. And when I got there, we had a Black Panther brother, and he was talking first, and the family stood behind, and I said what I had to say. I read this message, one of the last messages.
Right now is anger.
Talking about who I was. I want to tell you guys that we need to find who did this. And I'm really hoping that community will step up and help us figure out who did this, but it doesn't matter if you don't, because I am here to tell you you're here messing with the wrong people.
No one has been arrested so far, but police are reviewing all the surveillance video that's available in this area. I see cameras all over the place here right now. One note, Firehouse, the bar here in Uptown, has volunteered to pay for Mendoza's funeral. Back to you.
All right, Lou, thank you.
Talking about who I was to him and just how much he believed in me, and then I had the news people in front of me, the camera in front of me, so I said, you know, prior to this, the Firehouse was saying, oh, we'll help in any way, and my daughter said, well, just donate to GoFundMe, but they hadn't because it's not tax deductible, was our assumption, we don't know, but they hadn't. So while we were there and they had invited us in there, I said, yeah, and they graciously offered to pay for the funeral. And so then they didn't pay for it all. We still had to come out of pocket, but they still did. And that place was only open for a month before Gabe was killed. So I'm sure that was hard financially for them.
Do you know the owners of that establishment? Have you?
No, I don't know the owners. Okay. I spoke with the general manager. And yeah.
I'd be curious to figure out who the owners of that establishment is. How was your relationship to law enforcement prior to your son's death? Like, I mean, I'm not trying to say whether you're for defund the police or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Have you had any interactions with them prior to that you want to talk about?
Sure. If we could just step back one moment to when we were talking about having to edit ourselves or censor ourselves. One of the things I was worried about was, you know, Gabe didn't have a criminal record, but he did. He had one incident during the uprising. Mm-hmm. He ended up going to jail for a couple of days for that, but it was during the uprising, right. and it wasn't an assault or anything like right. that. So they let him go. But I was very concerned even then that if you know it's going to come up when the investigators see that, course, and so is there going to be like are you lower on the priority list if you know? And so that's one thing. My family, my daughters and Gabriel and myself have been going to protest since I can remember. I would bring them when they were younger.
Strictly in Minnesota.
Yeah.
We're talking about protests.
Well, and then there's two. So my daughter, his sister, moved to Texas. She was part of a group called Cosecha. And Cosecha fights for immigrant rights at the border of Texas and Mexico. And so she had gotten arrested for protesting there for immigrant rights. And then Gabriel would go to other states to help do protection or to assist. So like when there was a flood, a hurricane, he was headed down to go help, you know, do whatever they could do. And when there was vigils or peaceful protests, he would do security. So he'd fly out places or drive out places and do security.
With that, so I'd like you to read that text if you have it.
I do.
That your son sent you. You want me to grab your phone for you?
Yeah. It says, I got my hustle from my mama. You are living proof of greatness. You beat the odds every time. You are an inspiration to me, the family, and the community. You're also my support system. My mother, somebody who will give you the shirt off her back, but bury you alive if you come for her kids. Yeah. Yeah, so the strongest bear in the forest, you are resilient. You show love and guide other youth whom either lack the support or the desire they need to succeed. You always show and prove. You demonstrate every time. You're reliable and a warrior at heart. You bless this world every day with your perspective and your insight. You can make dead flowers bloom. That's my baby.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You gotta take that and have it have it framed. His words framed. That's poetic. I don't want to be conspiratorial or whatever, but it seems like, you know, I went to your Facebook page. You had something written on your Facebook page that said that you're unapologetically
a fighter for social and racial justice,
Yeah.
unapologetically.
Yeah. So I know a lot of this now social networking and media has them drawing up us and understanding our affiliation and networking with different people. I know a lot of my networking is with individuals who are probably close affiliates of who you network with. So you can draw up a dossier, you can draw up a credit report of who I am as an individual. We know personally that when they do any type of investigation, they go on Facebook and look into who we are. So I'm just wondering, I'm not trying to be conspiratory. I'm just saying, I'm looking at this as being like you're looking at this thing. Is this the future of policing? Are they going to move away from cases where they feel as though we aren't individuals who support them? And we talked about it a little bit before, as you initially started to talk, and we sort of touched base on it, but that's what I think that should call us to action. If they're intending on not policing or helping us, we need to start drawing on our own resources, our own infrastructure, and we need to know this up front. We don't need to be tricked, bagged into feeling as though we are safe when you're not. I mean, I don't want to feel like my daughter's going out there, and if something happens, I can call the police if I can't. I mean, that's foolishness. So where do you feel? I mean, what's your heart telling you? In this situation, like I'm not, no names, no anything like that, but just what is it telling you?
Yeah, it is this desperate feeling of like, I can gather all my allies, all the community. We have what it takes to like self-sustain our own communities. We have the strength, we have the power, we have the answers, we have the resources, we have each other. But I feel the same way. If the police department chooses to like focus on maybe murders of people who didn't say, you know, you're not doing your job.
Right.
You know, if they didn't hold you accountable, you know, if you're not going to help us, if you could get out the way kindly,
please,
so that we could do this ourselves.
Right.
But instead, it's not. I have no faith that work is getting done behind the scenes.
Right.
Because it's 8 weeks. I said, I'm only going to call you once a week. I'm going to assume you're doing your job the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So I'll call you once a week. We made a pact. That was what it was. And now it's just, nope, sorry, no new news. Talk to you next week. Like that, you know? And so I do feel like I'm justified in saying, then let us do it ourselves.
Right.
Because I got a lot of people who are ready to help us figure this out.
Right.
You know, like we were talking about before, using our platforms. It's just not folks who have a bunch of followings on social media. You know, it's also folks like, you know, yourself, myself, the bus driver, the person at the corner store. We all got it.
Yeah.
You know, we all have a platform. We have a circle of folks who trust us, love us, listen to us, and I know that I could have a strategy together in a minute,
right,
if they would get out the way.
Just please get out the way.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say about this whole deal is they're taking taxpayer dollars from us.
Yep.
We're paying their salaries. They're taxing the hell out of us, and they have enough nerve to act like they have an attitude when we talk to them. It's ridiculous.
There's also some kind of understanding amongst them where, first of all, I was lucky enough because of people that I know. I have a big network. I'm fortunate for that. But so we were able to get an advocate. But the homicide division doesn't have an advocate. This is one that is on loan from a different department on a sexual health or sexual crimes, assault crimes department.
When you explain an advocate to me, when you say advocate, you just mean someone you call to liaison between you and the detective? Is that what it, okay?
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be calling you, the advocate is supposed to be calling you. It's just like if I had a criminal case against me, when I had my criminal case against me, the individuals who the state had against me had an advocate. They came to court. So you're saying the same thing as in this situation?
Yeah, so I had an advocate. Yeah, so I had an advocate. Advocate's amazing. And like I said, on loan from a different department. And so when I found out that homicide itself, what do you mean? There was 71 homicides and nobody had like a person, like a friend in the business, so to speak, who can go and talk to these people and relay, you know, like the investigators and relay messages and stuff like that. With my situation, I still want to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So I still call him, but my advocate will support in any kind of way and finding resources or whatever. But that's another part where we could dump some of that money into the advocacy that supports the families with resources, with, you know, support, mental, spiritual, emotional support, financial support, all of that. So some of that money, anyways, they should be able to give back to the community in that way. Right. You know, and so I also think that the defund the police, we didn't say zero police in that, right? Right. We just said all of that money doesn't need to go to the police. Police need to be more held more accountable. We're seeing you killing people left and right. Right. We're not safe, and there's another way. Exactly. And so if we can move some of that money, then it's not, so we're not saying burn them down. We're saying let's move some of this money around so that you, if you're getting scared, if you have trauma, if you have PTSD, whatever's happening for you, that you're pulling out your gun so fast and killing our people. Right. Well, let's get somebody else who could be the liaison or the advocate. So
I know as much as I had a conversation with Robin. I think her name's Wesley. She's a council member in Hennepin County, and we talked about it. And she's a socialist. She's not, so she has a very avant-garde perspective on policing, and these groups, they get together, but it just seems like, you know, they know that policing doesn't work in a fashion that they promoted to us in our communities. And we know that it has to be a dynamic structure dealing with, you know, mental illness, homelessness, just people who have been traumatized by police officers. They're dealing with that. I mean, you know, as a Black man, automatically having anxiety when I come in contact with these individuals. How do we deal with that? So when I talked to her about, and I might be saying her last name wrong, but I know her first name is Robin. She talked about how they had this third party independent. They weren't police officers. They were just, like you were saying, they were just individuals who dealt with mental health issues. They would deal with non-violent. Yeah. But what was happening though with that unit is that the police officers were so disgruntled with that unit, and maybe even the success of that unit, that they would try to devalue it, put it in situations that, you know, make it look bad, because they feel like everything is an attack against them and not beneficial or improvements. So I don't know how we adjust this where they realize the shortcomings they have, accept them, and have us come. Like you say with advocacy, just saying that we need more than just a police officer pulling us over and barking out orders to us. We need some form of, all across the board, not just victim advocacy, but just advocacy in general for our community. We need more than that. So when it comes to that, I understand that it just seems like it's going to be difficult before it gets easy for us to just traverse this conversation with them. And I feel personally, I'm seeing it on the record, that I feel like this is just the future of things when it comes to dealing with them.
Do you think we'll see it in our lifetime, a change?
I would hope so. I would say, if you asked me if we would have seen a president of color in our lifetime, I would have said no, I'd have been wrong. So I would think that there is hope, optimism, there is a generation of individuals who have a voice to speak, and they're very astute, and they can make, they have the power. Yeah. I would say definitely. I think that you and I right now, this conversation we're having can change. Someone's going to see it and be like, hey, you know what? That's wrong. You should change. And I feel that's like wrong. We should change. And I feel like you being an advocate, that's what I wanted to get back to. When I first met you, you just list off, the things that you've done, the things that your son had done. And everything that revolves around, activism, being an activist. What got you into that? What put you in that space? Because I can't remember, I didn't become the person who I became until I had my conviction. Prior to that, I didn't care. We call it pistachio ice cream. I was eating pistachio ice cream, watching things happen, right? Mm-hmm. You seem to be, from day one, at some particular point, what changed you? What made your children look toward you as being their deity? What made them look at that? What changed? What changed? What happened in your life?
Well, it started from before I was even Earthside. So I am the product of two, I always say free-loving hippies, right? So they were really young, and they were in high school when they had me, and my paternal grandma ends up raising me. My paternal grandma now, for the rest of the story, is going to be my mom. Okay. So my mom was an immigrant from Mexico, and she had to stay under the radar. She wasn't a citizen until Clinton was in office. Okay. So we were raised not to make waves, but she was a woman of faith, and so she always wanted to pour into community, because even though she couldn't make waves and fist up fight, what she could do is love on folks. And so here's how it worked out for her. She was called La Señora en la Casa Azul, so the lady in the blue house. And so people would come from Mexico or different countries that speak Spanish, and they would knock on our door. Because when you hear that it's cold in the north, you don't realize how cold. We're not talking hoodie zip up cold. Yeah. So we always had a coat closet. So my mom would give coats to these guys. She worked at El Burrito, one of those people that are hosting a fundraiser for us now, when they were a small mom and pop shop. And she would send them, go down there, get some food on my account. She did this so much that sometimes she didn't get no check, and they'd be fighting because she gave all her money away, But that's how she could do it. Later, there was some brothers and sisters who were houseless and addicts, and so they would come and she'd restore dignity by giving them little jobs around the house. You can shovel the snow, here's a burrito, here's some money. You can, rake the leaves, here's some tostadas, and here's some money, When they would get put in detox or deported, it's really hard to get your belongings back when you're houseless. So we had a shed in the back, and she would hold their things. So it was just a part of my inheritance. No. Okay, I'm going to ask you a tougher question now. Do you know what she has? Is it part of that community, to be that community? Because that's what we're missing in our community, is that, because my great-grandmother was like that, right? Yeah. It was just something in her that made her big mama. You know what I'm saying? Everybody respected her. She was a hard worker. She knew about community. She knew she was religious, really faith-orientated. But she had that ancestral, that connectivity. I mean, she was a deity. I mean, she's in all my great memories. She's my first great memory. And I feel like that we're talking about your mother and my great grandmother in the same fashion, but it's like, it seemed to be that has been taken away and stripped of us, and we can only talk about it. I can talk about it, and you bring back that feeling in me when you talk about it, and I don't know where, how that feeling feels for you, but I know it's a good feeling for me. When you said that about
your mother, which is your grandmother, which is my great-grandmother, it just brings back so many happy memories and so much that I want to do right by this woman and I always think about one day when she was telling me, she was chastising me and she's talking about the chain gang and you don't want to be in a chain gang. I can remember vividly remembering these conversations with this woman at the time that I really didn't understand who she was. But now in my lifetime, I was so grateful to have that. So where did it come from? Is it part of your heritage, your culture, for her to be so strong?
She was a force. I mean, this little girl, she was only 5 when her mom passed away from stomach cancer also. And there was too many kids, so somebody had to go to the States and work the farms with one of the brothers who had made it over there. And so he was going to take her older sister. The older sister got scared the morning of, and so my mom decided, all right, I'll go. So she went with her sisters to the border town, and they distracted the security and police folks and said, oh, she's just going to go get some fruit. And she books it it was El Paso, Texas. So she books it, and she jumps into the trunk of her brother's car, and off they go. But I always think about, like, at 5 years old, you had that kind of profound trust in God, that she was going to be okay. You're running from a life, the only life you've known.
Right.
And towards a life you have no idea. At 5.
At 5.
Yeah.
Yes, at 5.
And so
making a life-changing decision.
Yeah.
And standing on it.
That's right. And so, like, I don't know what was in her, boy, but that's powerful. And so since then, you know, like I said, she had to leave her sister. She's moving, bouncing, working on farms, oranges and grapes and such, and trying to make some money with her brother. And so what she would do is in every town, she was seeking mothering. So she would go to the churches in whatever town she was working in, and they would mama her. So they would teach her how to cook, and they would love on her.
Okay.
And so she was able, probably from years of growing up with a bunch of different women loving on you, she probably just got all the love in her heart could have. Right. And then it just seeped out her pores, and that's how it worked out, I think.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it as truth. Okay. So what Clinton act, or did she become a citizen, or was it an act passed, a policy passed that allowed her?
No, you know, I don't really remember, but I do remember she studied all these questions she needed to learn to pass the test. And in the end, they don't tell you what they're going to ask you or how many questions they're going to ask you or anything. And she studied and memorized. I mean, these are things I didn't even know. Answers to the history or the reasons why this is that or whatever. And she prayed and prayed and prayed. And then I think my sister ended up going with her that day. And they asked her one question. She answered it. And bada boom, she's a citizen.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Welcome to America.
She only got to vote once. She voted for Obama.
Oh.
Yep, and she made sure we did too. She got in trouble because she came to me and my daughter behind us, you know, when you stand in those little things, she's like, you better vote for Obama. And they're like, ma'am, you know.
So she was in Minnesota with you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I mean, beautiful. So your children had an opportunity to meet her.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the strength, and that's where see, I can see the lineage now. I can see the connectivity. I can see that vibe, and I can understand if that makes you want to be a better person, right? Knowing that individual. I always thought about it. I had great friends. I always thought about it. What if Martin Luther King was my friend or Malcolm X was my friend? Those individuals being in your life would make you want to be a great person.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same way I feel like my great-grandmother, your mother was in our lives, makes you want to be. And even though I told you, I started my story off saying that, you know, I was a knucklehead for the longest. I knew what was right.
Yeah.
You know? But see, it's what I always tell individuals, because I'm a father raising, I raised grown children, and when I was in prison, I was always worried about my children. Like, you know, I just don't want my daughter to do this or my son to do this. I don't want to come home and they're doing this. And you got to understand, when we put that in our children, just the we plant the seeds right,
Mm-hmm.
it might grow kind of crooked, but it always knows how to get back to right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even when you're gone, that's what we want to do. We want to input that into our children. So even when when we're gone, they know what's right. So eventually I moved back to right because I was taught right at a young age.
That's right.
I knew exactly what was where I was going.
That's what I feel about Gabe too, what you're talking about. Like, he really was one of those people who, like, if you get to encounter him once, I might have told you, there were 2 people who showed up at his funeral that had only met him once. I've never gone to anybody's funeral I only met once.
Mm-hmm.
But he planted that seed and made that impact.
That was that, but that's that my grandma, mama, all the way down, you, boom, 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 and that's now you have the product, and of course it's the tree, it's all that coming down. So of course he's gonna be of course your daughter, of course your son's gonna be great because they're fruit from that tree, right? So I mean, you said, what was he, football player or basketball player?
Oh, when he was younger, he played for the West Side Boosters, football, basketball, baseball.
How tall was he?
He was 6'4".
Yeah, so he was a player.
Yeah,
definitely.
But then he went to go play football for Rochester. Had a good time. It got too expensive. Had to come back home.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a person who just everybody says, oh, they light up the room. So Gabe did light up the room, but he also put the light on you because he wants you to shine.
Right.
Like, I already got it. You shine.
Right.
Yeah, he did everything, 110%. He wanted to master everything. When college didn't work out, he came home. Next thing was culinary arts.
Mm-hmm.
So
you said he was cooking at a couple of different places.
Yeah.
Kincaid's is one place I've been.
St. Paul Hotel was the other one.
Yes.
And he'd bring them recipes home and teach himself how to do it so he could master that,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he was just like that. He wanted to be the best that he could be. So he'd get up at 5:30 in the morning every day because he was like, I got the same 24 hours that you got. What am I going to do with mine?
Right, yeah, we the same exact 24 hours.
That's
right. And that's this, you see a lot of, he was a great man, and it sometimes you look at it and be like, only, it's a messed up situation. It's just a terrible, terrible situation. That how these scenario things play out. And we have to get justice. We have to do something. We have to, this what happened was not right.
We need systems change.
Definitely a system change. But us as people, we are the system. We are the change.
Mm-hmm.
We can sit back and let this continue to happen, or we can use our voice to make sure it doesn't happen again. Mm-hmm. And this could be the reason behind it, to draw light to this going on, and maybe we can all get behind it and change it. Yes, I'm gonna be at the event on the 13th, the 17th. You sent me also. I think that's a listening.
Is a listening session.
Now, where's the listening session at again?
That is at Universalist Church in Minneapolis. I'm trying to think of what street it's on. But yeah.
I'll get all the information. I'll put it up when this goes up so people can join us and participate. And what are you trying to get out of listening session? Just conversations? What are we doing with the listening session?
I really want to be honest with you on what my goal is. So what I'm trying to do is gather a bunch of like-minded folks. So these are technically faith leaders, rabbis, priests, circle keepers, healers, anybody in that responsibility, that level of responsibility. I'm asking folks to brainstorm together in real time. I want a real life commitment as to what do we got to do so we're proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
In those communities,
yes,
folks will show up and they'll come and pray for you, or they'll, hold a circle for your family to, heal. And those are beautiful ways. But what about before that? What are we doing?
Right.
And my next round will be looking for young people, youth workers. I'm looking for folks who work with kids at the Boys and Girls Club, at the Y, at shelters, emergency shelters for youth, after school program, young people, where's the opportunity that you could be pouring into these kids? Because you got direct contact with them.
Yes.
A guidance counselor should guide. Aren't we all guidance counselors?
We all, it's always been in our community. It doesn't matter. If I'm a certain age, then I'm your son's father.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I treat him like that. He respects me as that. And he's my son. And I treat him as that. And that's always been, that's community. That's what community is.
Yes.
Do you have any more, are we talking about any more visuals, any memorials, anything to bring this back into the light? Any more events going on other than the fundraisers and the listening session specifically about finding the murderer of your son?
So, not specifically about finding the murderer of my son. Right now, like I said, we're kind of keeping the word out because I believe I need to keep his story and his face out there.
Definitely.
And so right now it's the fundraiser, it's this conversation with you.
Yes.
It's the listening session, asking the community for accountability and real-time commitments.
Yes.
And then it's his twin is actually hosting an event for folks who are who lost somebody to gun violence, and not just Gabe, but she's a spoken word artist. And
where's that going to be at? I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, because it just happened.
Because I'm a spoken word artist too, so let me get the mic.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get you connected.
Let me get the mic. I got something I can throw down. We, but yeah. So you said it. So I love to get that. I love to be present there. I love to see that. See that happening.
But it is a good point that I do need to get something else that's like directed at justice and directed at like what are we gonna do about this?
Going to the front in front of the police. Off for their station, and we do a press conference, or we just to put the light on them to make them do their jobs. And it's sickening that we have to do something like that. But yeah, I mean, that's all I was asking.
Because if you didn't do your job, would you get a whole bunch of people to leave their job to come and fight on behalf to make you do your job, or would you just get let go?
Let go.
Okay.
Let go.
So the whole community don't have to come together, leave their families and their jobs, and come and stand out in the cold to make you do your job.
It shouldn't have to be like that. When you're getting a check, when you're cashing it,
you
shouldn't even cash that check.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't deserve it. And then you can get a retirement and all that. And I'm not trying to. I just asked that. Like I said, I'm not. Everybody. I know everybody's gonna get in the comment box and talk about how you said this about the police. And all I ask is for them just to do their damn jobs. That's all I ask. Do your job. Don't do no extra. Don't do no. Just do what you're being paid to do, and it's not that hard. You know what I'm saying? So my heart goes out to you and your family.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do whatever I can to get this out, to be there and be in support. I'm definitely gonna be on the third thing. I'm definitely gonna bring my appetite because I didn't last time because I didn't know it was gonna be food. I'm gonna eat.
I should have told you it was good food.
I thought it was just gonna be people talking and stuff like that. So when I got there, I seen all the food I had already ate prior, and there was a lot of food they threw down, y'all.
Yeah,
yeah. So I'll be definitely coming with an appetite on the 13th, and ready to eat up something. Any parting words? What do you want to say?
I do. I want to show you.
Set, go. All right, good afternoon. Hi, my name is Coach Lou. I am here to talk about Ujamaa, what Ujamaa Place is. It's a nonprofit organization located out of St. Paul, Minnesota. We provide services for men ages 18 to 30. What we do, we follow our pattern of what we call the theory transformation, providing men with an opportunity to make some intelligent changes in their lives. We provide them with housing, employment, education training, construction training program, education, by the way, of they want to get their GED. If they want to go to post-secondary, go to college, we provide that opportunity for them. We also provide, which is in the theory transformation, I'm one of the coaches there who provide a lot of the trainings in terms of critical thinking, the sessions that I run, cognitive thinking, anger management. We also have entrepreneur classes for our young men. We have just multiple services that will get men in the right track. Most importantly, the thing is men get to meet with other men on one-on-one. They're delegated a coach. who was their go-to, but we coached them all. And so we're located, like I said, out of St. Paul. It's at 1825 University Avenue. We've been in existence since 2010. It's a great organization. We're not limited to just St. Paul. Men from all over St. Paul can come and be a part of this organization. It is free services. It's a gift that keeps giving. Ujamaa is one of those places that where our young men are lost out here in the community. Again, it's from 18 to 30. With a lot of those young men, they're displaced. They don't have the resources. We provide them with some of the resources, again, with multiple trainings. Also, we have a pathway for them to become employed. Internships. It's just a wonderful place to be. I would encourage anyone to look up our website, Ujamaa Place. There's UJAMPPLACE, Ujamaa Place. So if you have an opportunity, look us up online.
These flyers. So this flyer is something that the family put together.
You got that big camera out there too, so you
okay.
can, yeah, that's gonna.
Let's do that one.
Yeah.
So
put it down just a little. Yeah, you got it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Crime Stoppers is what you're gonna see on the news. This is my son's phone, his actual phone, and I get the tips.
Oh, okay.
So, those tips will go to me or the family if you know something and you've been afraid to say something. If you were there that night and you think it might just be dumb, just call me. Please just call me or text it. This is not for the police. This is for me because I don't know if Crime Stoppers has gotten any calls or any leads. I have no idea. All I keep hearing is there's nothing. So that's what this flyer is. Again, that phone number is on here. There's a link tree that goes in a QR code here, but that goes directly to leave an anonymous tip if you would prefer to do it that way online. And then, yeah, this is the area of the shooting is on the back, what you're looking at. Letting you know exactly where it was in the back of the firehouse. There we go.
You want to put up his pictures one more time for me? Just walk me through them.
Okay, so this
you can do it to this camera right here. So
I think that's better too.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a lot easier for you.
All right, this is Gabriel on Easter.
Looking handsome.
Yes, that was a couple years ago. Gabe was also Gabriel to family and friends and growing up, but then he was Dino.
Dino, yes.
After he hit a certain age. So if you're wondering what's up with Gabriel and Dino, they're two and the same.
Yeah.
And we just show our families and people who grew up with a certain version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so most of Gabe's friends have been able to know Dino first and then Gabriel.
Mm.
So this is a picture his sister took of him. That was right before he went off to play ball. And this was, it was hard to graduate, but he did that. That was graduating.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful young man. He's still here. He's in spirit right now with us. You know what I'm saying? He's right here with us, looking down at us and presence and everything. That's how I felt. That's how I feel. That's what I know. You know what I'm saying? And I know we're gonna find out who did this. We're gonna get some leads. We're gonna get this. We're gonna show these individuals that we don't have to have their help and they can be whatever they want to be. But our community is gonna come together. We're gonna figure this out. You know what I'm saying? Anything else? Anything else you want to give me?
If you know something, if you saw something and you've been holding it in, I just want to say that to me, it feels that you're taking the side of the person who did it and that this person is still out there and will be able to continue to kill folks because you're not saying anything. And this, you could be a part of not just finding justice for Gabriel, but changing the system. I want to speak with this person and find where we let them down as a community. And that's very different than the way I've been seeing it approached before. It's the only way to make justice really happen is to see a change happen in the system and the way that we live and move in the world.
All right, with that, Mom, I want you to do something for my Now you're recording. I'm gonna go in. All right, go ahead.
All right, so we, the family, has opened up our own tip line. This is Gabriel's old phone number right here, 404-8398, 651-404-8398. That'll go directly to me, his dad, or his sister. You can call or text. If you don't feel comfortable talking to me or his family, go on and call the Crime Stoppers line. Those tips will go directly to the police.
Okay. Hey.
And this is his cousin's girlfriend. This is for Gabe's podcast.
Hey.
So maybe
I should get people eating. Keep it real.
Alright, down here, this is one of two loves of Gabe's life. This is Gabe's oldest sister, Ariel. This is Alyssa, Gabe's stepsister.
Hey, how you doing?
Bea the twin.
Hey.
Tia the cousin.
Hey.
Lazuli the niece.
Hey, how you doing?
This is Mo. He's helping us do the podcast and get the word out.
Yeah, check it out. It's coming out on Friday. Hopefully everybody subscribed, checking us out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
This guy. You can keep it.
I'm about to order.
Huh?
I'm about to order.
Oh, you about to order from me?
Yeah.
Oh, you gonna have a seat somewhere, or what are you doing? We getting ready to take off.
Oh, you gonna take off? I'll go to the bar and order something up.